Hi, my name is RaShelle Roberts, and I've had CRPS for about 6 years. I'm here to tell my story for the Canna CRPS Foundation. I had a knee injury from when I was 15, and I, about 6 years ago, moved into a 2-story house and was going up and down the stairs, and I had tripped, and I could tell that my knee had gotten aggravated. And it had bothered me from time to time throughout my life, but I never really did anything about it. Would I sit and leave it at that? Well, after I had tripped about a week later, now looking back, CRPS has started to set in to that injury in that area of my body. And at the time, I didn't have health insurance. So I quickly acquired it, and I went and saw the best knee guy in town, and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and proceeded to go through small amount of therapy before I had surgery to replace. I had a torn ACL and some pretty severe damage around my knee itself. And so in November 2015, I went in for surgery. And when I woke up from surgery, I again look back now and can see that I went into full-blown CRPS and woke up with it, and was probably one of the scariest times of my life. And the nurse had to call my boyfriend back to calm me, because when I woke up, I knew something was different. And I explained it later almost as if an octopus had sucked onto my brain and the tentacles were going down into my body. And my experience and how I reside in my body completely changed. So after that surgery, I went through a year of intense physical therapy. And quite honestly, I had all the signs of CRPS right in front of the best therapists in my city, and saw my surgeon probably every 6 weeks. And nobody noticed. And I knew in my heart of hearts that that something else was going on. I just didn't know what, and I knew I was in the most horrific pain. So January 2017, I opted to get a full knee replacement. And keep in mind that as I'm going through this, I have been a solo parent of 2 kids. My daughter currently is 21 and my son is 17. So at the time they were much younger, obviously. And they got to witness me go through knee replacement surgery, and I'm in my 40s, so I was quite young to get that. But at that point, I was so desperate to get out of pain and so desperate to heal. And my leg, after a year of physical therapy, had only gotten worse, had atrophied severely, couldn't touch it, had all the kind of classic signs of the coloration, the swelling, the burning, and I just kept pushing. My therapist just kept pushing me at some point. And I had tremors, I had it all. And again, nobody recognized. So with the desire to get better, I went for a knee replacement. That knee replacement experience, I have had to do get a lot of help around, because I came out of it and I spent 36 hours in childbirth labor with my son. And I would say that knee replacement was worse than that. I spent, I'm going to say, at least 4 months in the most excruciating pain. And again, nobody noticed that I had CRPS, because all of the signs were absolutely in front of them. And I had seen 3 different physical therapists, and again, my surgeon, every 4 to 6 weeks. I wasn't getting better. So I'm going to say My surgery, my knee replacement was in January of 2017. By late spring, early summer of 2017, my surgeon had a nerve specialist he hired on staff and told me that I had what was called CRPS. And if it didn't get better, which he said there was no known cure, I would say my appointment with him was maybe 10 minutes. There was no known cure, and it looked like the options that I had was getting, if it didn't get better, that I could do a spinal cord block or stimulator. And forgive me because I've really blocked those things out, because in my own understanding and research now in November 30th of 2020, those often make people worse. And at that point, I was so afraid to have any kind of deep intervention that had to do with cutting or pricking my body that I left that office in a very dark state. Now, part of my story is that in the mid-20s, I started my own, mid-20s, try that again. In my 20s, I started my own business, and I, as a graphic design firm with my cousin. And then that migrated into me becoming a business coach and strategist for creative focused companies around the world. And my business has grown, and over the years, that's what I did primarily, is that I investigated and understood the human potential and how to create our goals and our desires from understanding our own potential, and being that my focus was on creatives. I worked with many world-class designers and artists. So when all of this started happening, I still saw clients. I shrunk my practice. I created a desk in my bed, and I kept the clients that were my top clients and that were willing to work with me through this. And so why I say that is because for the first year after finding out that I had CRPS, I was in a very dark place. It was very hard. And quite honestly, it probably took the most toll over these last 6 years on my family. Obviously, my kids, my boyfriend, my father, and extended family and dear close friends. They saw me and I was not the same person. And anyone who has CRPS really gets it, or is around somebody that has CRPS, is my life started shrinking, and my ability to create, I'm an artist and I couldn't paint anymore. I very limited energy towards my clients, very limited energy towards my family. And that was hard. It's hard to explain. It's hard to understand for the people around you. And inside, I carried a great amount of shame, embarrassment, and fear. Fear that this was my life now. I couldn't think straight. It all just came tumbling down. And when you're in such high levels of pain, the mind does not operate as it can or should. So here I am today, and I look healthy and I look happy, and I'm proud of that. But it has taken me an extended amount of time of turning kind of my own practices that I did with my clients. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% better and I didn't do it without doctors, but I give myself a lot of credit because I started investigating how did CRPS started coming about, or how did it happen in my body? And so I turned all that I knew and all that I have practiced for the last 25 years in my business onto myself, and researching and learning and finding. And I would say some of my top successes. One is I started seeing a functional doctor, which has been the only doctors that have genuinely helped me. Also, I started investigating the Sparrow Clinic. Now, I have not been there, but I studied them deeply. I studied what she's been doing. She, in my opinion, Dr. Katinka, is the only person that I've found. Now, I know that there's many people who understand it, and I give deep credit for that. But I believe that Dr. Katinka is onto something. And I believe that I've myself am onto something on understanding the dynamics of CRPS. And truly, that's why I want to talk about it. That's why I'm here. That's why I was interested in doing and telling my story. So I can't go into it all at this moment, but I will tell you this, that my leg is still severely atrophied. I still am in a great amount of pain. But I have come so far. I don't really know how to put it into words, into coming back to the human that I know myself to be. And I do believe that is through my eating. I've been a cannabis user of both THC and CBD. I have found the vitamins that are necessary, the foods that inflame me. I was living a very fast-paced life, which I think most of us do. I was on fast forward. I've been a single parent. I was running a business. I have a father that I take care of, and a lot of life and things happening around me, and loved that, and put on events and did many things. And my life has really changed. My life has come down to what is most important. And I am still at a point where I need help, I need support to truly rehabilitate my leg. Because just to a side note is that I started experiencing severe CRPS in other areas of my body. And what is so challenging for CRPS people is that doctors don't really listen. And what I also know is that I know my body. I know my body better than they do. And as team and partners, we can get help from doctors. But ultimately, doctors, and I say this, and hopefully there's a doctor listening or a therapist listening, that if you are not listening to the person in front of you that has CRPS, you are missing the entire piece. Because what my experience and what I've learned and come to understand is that the weakness, once CRPS gets triggered in the body, for me it was in my leg, it travels to the weak links in your body and started showing up in the areas of my body that I had maybe slightly injured previously, or had some, like often people will talk about that it spread to their organs or their bladder. And what I found is I've never dealt with a lot of bladder infections, but I got one about 2 years ago, and it was horrific. It turned it on, the volume to 25. So just to wrap up my story, I do have so much more to say, and I am in the midst of creating an outlet for me to share more information and the successes that I've found, and to also track this next level of me healing and really fully rehabilitating my body and my leg especially. But it has taken a mass amount of my time and energy to get here, to be able to talk to you, to be able to be clear in my eyes and not be in horrific, debilitating pain daily. And I believe that since I am doing this for the Canna CRPS Foundation, cannabis has been a very strong ally for me, as has kratom, as has some very minor meds. I found that there were some medicines that it was like putting fuel on CRPS for me. So I've really kept it minimal at this point. And, you know, one more facet of my story, and I didn't expect to go this long, but I found out recently that my mother passed from CRPS, from unrecognized and untreated CRPS. She had it in her lower extremities, and she had, years prior, had heart failure, and they believed that it had spread to her heart and started attacking her other major organs. So I'm extremely motivated to understand this disease, this very odd, strange thing that completely alters someone's life. I mean, many diseases do. We know this. But for CRPS, people who have CRPS, it's a level of pain that is indescribable. And when you're in that level of pain, your brain does not work and function, and it is so challenging to communicate or help others understand what you need, from basics, from eating, from quiet, from noise, being, you know, things being too loud. So I'm going to leave it here. I know this was longer than I expected, but I appreciate you listening to me. And I do hope that if you're here on behalf of someone who has CRPS, or you do have CRPS, I do believe that it is our time, that we are finding answers, and that we are creating more community through avenues like this to make a difference and to really understand and be heard. Thank you.